Hello, this is Archie Dunlop with Talking Astrology with Archie on Wednesday, June the 21st, 2023. I recently had a comment on my channel regarding Donald Trump, and this comment was from TJMM7MR. And TJMM7MR wrote, "Isn't Melania a Taurus? Do you think he compensates for his lack of Earth through her and her abilities? Maybe an interesting comparison in a synastry chart." So what prompted this comment was my analysis of Donald Trump's chart, in which I pointed out that Donald Trump has no planets in Earth signs. Now, I took this to be about Donald's uncomfortableness with the material world. Yes, he's into money, we know that, but he's into money in a kind of compensatory way. It's like he doesn't really understand the material world. As I pointed out, his father left him a lot of money, and if he'd taken this money and put it into the stock market, into maybe some Standard and Poor tracker fund, and not bothered with casinos or whatever, he'd probably be a lot richer than he is now. So to show you what I mean, let's look at Donald's chart, and there's Donald and there's Melania, and this is his chart, and these are the Earth signs in his chart. There we've got Taurus, and we've got Capricorn, and we've got Virgo, the Earth signs, and you can see that they are completely empty. So what I think TJMM7MR was suggesting is that because of this emptiness in the Earth signs, he might be attracted to someone who has a lot of Earth, like maybe Melania. Now let's look at Melania's chart. Here's her chart. She was born in Ljubljana. I don't know her birth time. She was born in Ljubljana, I think, the capital of Slovenia. And I've set it for noon. And you can see that Melania has a moon in Capricorn. In a female chart, the moon in Capricorn is probably more important than the sun sign. People with moon in Capricorn have a keen sense of their own financial and material needs. And she has loads of planets in Taurus: Sun, Saturn, Mercury, and Venus. So she's got 5 traditional planets in Taurus. In Taurus and Capricorn. I don't really count that Pluto in Virgo because it's so generational. So is it possible that Melania was filling a psychological need, that his lack of Earth, he saw in Melania an earthiness that he wasn't getting elsewhere? To get an idea of this, we can set up a bi-wheel. We can put Donald in the middle, in the inner ring, and we'll put Melania on the outer ring. So there is Donald's chart inside, and there is Melania's chart. We don't really know her midheaven. Forget that MC. I'm taking a noon chart, so ignore that point, the MC. So we notice that Donald, because we do have a time birth for Donald, his midheaven is at 2422 Taurus. So in astrology, certainly Western astrology, the midheaven represents the mother. I think there's a fair amount of consensus amongst Western astrologers that the midheaven represents a mother. The 10th house is a mother, 4th house is a father. You go back to, say, William Lilly, writing in the 17th century. He concurred with that. Liz Green, with her 1976 book, Saturn, what was it, A New Look at an Old Devil, I think that was the title. She suggested that the 10th house was more to do with the mother, the 4th house was more to do with the father, although Liz Green wasn't dogmatic about it, but she said in terms of the fourth house being the father, that I think she used the term something like the father being the backbone of her family. Also, the fourth house is the absolute root of things, and a child can be born 9 months after the father died, and that's not even assuming freezing of things. The father is not necessary, doesn't have to be around for the duration of gestation and birth. The mother certainly does have to be around. That is a very public thing, the mother giving birth, but the father is kind of optional at that time of birth. And so the father is kind of at the root of things. So yeah, that is something to consider. So you could say with this that at some level Melania was being like a mother to Donald. Now I know that sounds a bit trite. We always like to say that, it's a big cliche, but I'm trying to back it up here, because Donald's midheaven, the point most connected with the mother, is at 24 Taurus, and Melania's Venus is at 28 Taurus, and she's got Mercury at 22 Taurus, and in general she's got the Sun in Taurus, she's got Saturn in Taurus. So if Taurus is about the mother for Donald, it's certainly the case that Melania would fit the bill. So I don't think that is surprising. I mean, you compare that with, say, Ivana Trump's chart. Ivana Trump. I don't know one of his most famous wife, Ivana Trump. You can see Ivana Trump. She doesn't have a lot of Earth in her chart. She's got Jupiter at 21 Taurus. 21 Capricorn, Saturn at 2 Virgo, but she's not really hitting his all that she's not really hitting that emptiness that Donald has in Taurus. So it's interesting that of Ivana's her descendant, but Ivana's descendant is at 2452 Taurus, and looking at Donald's his midheaven, the point of the mother, is at 2422 Taurus. So her IC hitting his midheaven, somehow he was picking up on something there, and so you can see a certain mother feeling between Trump and between Donald Trump and Ivana Trump. Through the descendant, but I don't think it's quite as strong as we have between Donald and Melania. But then that raises a question: what about Donald's actual mother? Now, Trump's mother, Mary Trump, she was born in Scotland, and being born in Scotland, she has a time of birth. That's a great advantage about being Scottish. So, have a guess. What do you think? What do you think Trump's mother's star sign was? Go on to think about it. What do you think? Have a guess. Yeah, you got it. You got it right. This is her chart. Yes, she was indeed a Taurus, and she has Saturn in Taurus, and she has a Venus in Taurus. So. There is kind of a connection between Mary Ann Trump and Melania. They've got a connection there. They're both Taurans. So if we can now then create a tri-wheel. So if we create a tri-wheel, we're going to put Donald in the middle. We're going to put Melania in the middle wheel, and we're going to put Mary Trump on the outer wheel. And there you can see all this. This is Melania's Taurus planets, and there you've got Mary Trump's Taurus stuff. Now we do have a time of birth, so Mary Trump's ascendant was 7 Taurus, and so you can see that they line up. They line up pretty well. Melania has her son at 5 or 6 Taurus, and Trump's mother had her Venus at 4 Taurus. So there's a connection between Melania and Trump's mother. Likewise, there's Melania's Venus is at 28 Taurus, and then Trump's mother's Saturn was at 22 Taurus. So I think we can see that, going back to TJMM7MR's point, that this empty Taurus quadrant, this empty Taurus part of Donald's chart and his complete lack of Earth, he found it to an extent in Melania, and it harps back to his own mother, because his mother was a Taurus, and Donald has 24 Taurus on his midheaven. So I think there's definitely something going on with this Taurus. I don't know a lot about Melania, and I don't know a lot about Trump's mother. But I suspect that at some psychological level, there is an important connection there that perhaps most of us can't see. I also did a chart for the death of Trump's mother. So here we have, in the inner wheel, Donald Trump's chart. The outer wheel, the positions of the planets when his mother died on August 7th, 2000. What is interesting is that Saturn was at 29 degrees 51 minutes Taurus. Now, if we have got Trump's time of birth right, that means that Saturn is exactly square his ascendant at 29:58 Leo. So Saturn, using Placidus house cusps, is in his 10th house. So Saturn in the 10th certainly would signify potentially death of the mother. If we use whole sign houses, you could say that this position really is like a real 10th house experience, when you've got 29:51 Taurus, which Saturn is at, which is exactly square the ascendant. This is the key mother position. You've got 2 squares to the ascendant. You've got one square which is above the horizon, corresponding to the 10th house, the other square which is below the horizon, corresponding to the 4th house. And so this Saturn square his ascendant really does seem to signify the death of his mother. So just a few thoughts about Donald and Melania and how they connect with his mother. And yes, there is a connection between Ivana Trump and Trump's mother, and Donald Trump's mother, but I think it's a bit more subtle. So yes, I think that Melania is important to Donald. People might have the perception that he doesn't always treat her well, but I think she plays an important role in his life, and I'd guess at some level she was lucky for him, or she is lucky for him. He became president with Melania on his arm, and who knows, maybe he'll become president again with Melania on his arms, though at this stage I'm not making any predictions. Anyway, thanks a lot for listening, and I will talk to you again very soon.